At least 3 Russian aircraft were destroyed due to a drone strike at the Savoslayka airfield in Russia. Residents are evacuating from the city of Pokrovsk in the Donetsk region. Heavy fighting is continuing in the Pokrovsk direction.
We're in the Pokrovsk direction on the ground with an FPV unit.
Narendra Modi arrived in Kiev. This is the first visit of an Indian Prime Minister to Ukraine in the history of bilateral relations. Hi, I'm Zhenya Melnik and this is United 24 Media. A missile reportedly hit a ferry in the port of Kavkaz, which is located in the Krasnodar region of Russia near the Crimean bridge. The destruction of the vessel was later confirmed by Ukrainian Navy spokesman Dmytro Pletenchuk, who added the ferry was transporting fuel for the Russian armed forces. According to Ascent Analytics, the struck vessel is suspected to be the Conroe Trader, the only large ferry operated between Kerch and Russia. The Security Service of Ukraine, together with Special Operations Forces, hit the Marinovka airfield in Russia's Volgograd region. This is reported by Ukrainska Pravda. In particular, they targeted depots with UAVs and fuel. The local residents mentioned hearing explosions during the night and in the morning. The Marinovka airfield is used actively by Russia to bombard the front line in Ukraine. At least 3 Russian aircraft were destroyed due to a drone strike at the Savoslayka airfield in Russia's Nizhny Novgorod region. According to the head of the Ukrainian Defense Intelligence, Kirill Budanov, 1 MiG-35 Foxhound capable of carrying Russian Kinzhal ballistic missiles and 2 Il-76 Candid transport planes were destroyed. The operation was conducted on August 16th. Budanov also shared details of another operation which took place on August 21st. At least 50 drones were used on targets in several Russian regions. In particular, Moscow regional authorities reported the biggest drone attack in recent history, with the Signals Intelligence Center, located inside the Ostafyevo airport, being the main target of the attack. Shellings in the Sumy region are reportedly in decline. This statement was made by the head of the regional military administration during President Zelensky's visit to the Sumy border area. During a staff meeting with the president, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces discussed the management of humanitarian convoys under the purview of the local police force and the state emergency service attending to the civilian population of the Kursk region. Ukrainian forces captured Russian soldiers that could later be used in prisoner exchanges and took control of 1 more settlement in the Kursk region, reported the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, Alexander Syrsky. For now, Ukraine controls over 1,260 square kilometers of Russia's Kursk region and more than 90 settlements.
On the 6th of August, the Ukrainian troops broke through this checkpoint, and today us, ordinary journalists, are able to get into the Kursk region. Today we would like to show you the situation up there. Dear viewers, this is our first minutes in Sudzha, Kursk region. So far, as I can see, the city has some signs of shelling and fighting, but it's relatively better than comparing to the towns on the Ukrainian side, the frontline towns I've been to. So far we can hear shelling far from here and some drones, and also we've seen some civilians. We'll probably try to talk to some of them later today.
No, I don't want to leave. There are a lot of old people left here. Well, your guys bring us what we need. Medicine, food, water. Bread and water was delivered yesterday. I mean, we're not afraid of them. They're very friendly to us. They treat us well.
Today we started what is our duty, to provide assistance to the civilian population. Every day, we will have a therapist and a surgeon here to provide medicine and perform surgeries. Today we helped a woman with a shrapnel wound. We also have plenty of work to do tomorrow. We are trying to solve the issue of preserving the health of those who stayed here.
Behind me is the humanitarian hub in Sudzha, Kursk region, where Russian civilians can get food, water and medicine. It's interesting that most of them understand me talking Ukrainian to them. The Russian president promised 10,000 rubles, which is around $115 to those displaced from their homes. But according to the locals, there was no official evacuation taking place here.
The enemy is constantly striking at the settlements along the entire border. They are actively using aircraft, guided bombs, striking at settlements and civilians, thereby confirming their status as a terrorist state. They don't restrain from targeting the Russian population, such as in the city of Sudzha, where we are now.
Russia frequently tests Ukrainian defense, probing for weak spots and trying to break through. But this time, Ukraine turned the tables. As one officer said it in an interview, we will send our most capable units to their weakest point on the border. This logic certainly has paid off, as now Ukraine controls 92 settlements and 1,250 square kilometers of Russian soil, of Russian land in Kursk region. I'm sure this information is outdated by now, as Ukrainian forces advance daily.
Russian forces actively use aviation in Russia's Kursk region. Since August 21st, they carried out 17 airstrikes on populated areas of the Russian Federation using 27 guided aerial bombs. This was reported by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. According to the statement, Russia is also shelling Ukrainian border settlements in the Sumy region with artillery. Lifting restrictions on the use of capabilities against the Russian military involved in aggression against Ukraine would help defend Ukraine, stated Josep Borrell, the High Representative of the EU for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy. On his X page, he underlined this will also help save lives and advance peace efforts. At the same time, however, he stated that such capabilities have to be used in accordance with international law. New footage emerges of Russian bridge crossings getting blown up across the Kursk region. On August 22nd, the Ukrainian Air Force commander released a video of Russian bridges getting destroyed by aviation. Previously, Special Operation Forces and the Armed Forces of Ukraine showcased HIMARS rocket systems in action. The footage reveals these systems being used to destroy critical Russian pontoon crossings. Earlier, on the morning of August 19th, Russian sources stated that the Armed Forces of Ukraine destroyed the third and final bridge across the river called Sumy in the Glushkovsky district of the Kursk region. Belarus has stationed aircraft and air defense troops along its border with Ukraine. This move follows an announcement by self-proclaimed President Alexander Lukashenko that nearly a third of the country's military forces will be deployed to the frontier. According to the commander of the Belarusian Air Defense Forces, the military has also deployed anti-aircraft missiles and soldiers from the Radio Technical Corps. Belarus army consists of approximately 60,000 personnel. Meanwhile, a tank bearing the historical Belarusian white-red-white flag has been spotted in the Kursk region. This flag is a symbol of the opposition to the Lukashenko regime and is often used by the Tur unit, which consists of Belarusian fighters working alongside the 225th Separate Assault Battalion of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Russian troops attacked an evacuation team in the Donetsk region. At the time, there were 2 rescuers, a policeman, and 3 civilians in the car, including a woman with a disability. The vehicle was damaged during the strike, but the people were not injured. The attack happened during an evacuation from the town of Ukrainsk. The Ukrainian 68th Brigade released drone footage showing artillery strikes on Russian troops east of Pokrovsk in Donetsk region. Heavy fighting is continuing in that direction. Our colleague Alex Kerry told us more about the situation there.
We're in the Pokrovsk direction on the ground with an FPV unit that belongs to the 110th Mechanized Brigade. We've been here since last night. Now it seems a little bit quiet, but it was fairly intense this morning with a lot of artillery and a lot of mortars. Now Russians are only a few kilometers away from here, and from what we saw and heard, Moscow keeps throwing a massive amount of troops in the region to try and capture Pokrovsk, a city home to roughly 50,000 people here. Now, this is a dire reminder that the war that Russia started in 2014 continues unabated in the Donbass, a region that Moscow dreams to take over entirely. Alexander Kerry for United 24 Media.
Meanwhile, evacuations are ongoing in the city of Pokrovsk. The pace has increased, with between 500 and 600 people leaving the city every day. Starting August 20th, children and families with children will be forcefully evacuated from Pokrovsk, reported the regional governor Vadim Filashkin. He underlined that there are still more than 50,000 civilians in the city, including nearly 4,000 children.
It's so sad. I want to cry. This is what I feel. I don't want to go anywhere. I want to be at home.
We are from Pokrovsk and we'll evacuate like everyone else. We are scared, it's horrible. Nobody knows what's going to happen. I don't want to leave. My relatives are staying here. I'm so scared.
A 14-year-old boy was killed when Russian forces attacked Malokaterynivka in the Zaporizhia region. 9 other civilians were injured, among them 6 children. According to the regional governor, Russia attacked a children's cafe. It was hit with a 152mm shell.
I saw there were injured children. Boys were injured. One was severely injured. I immediately started providing first aid and got them away from where the explosion occurred. There was a fire too. I wanted to get them away from there. Then I started treating them further away from where the fire was.
Since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, Russia has used nearly 9,500 missiles and 14,000 drones to strike Ukraine, reported the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Oleksandr Syrsky. He added that almost 12,000 of these strikes hit targets in Ukraine, most of which were civilian. International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Grossi is planning to visit the Kursk Nuclear Power Plant in the next few days. In an interview with Bloomberg, he stated that the agency is currently working on the details of this trip. After that, he plans to visit Kyiv, where he expects to speak with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
The only way in which the IAEA can validate things, confirm things, is when we have an opportunity to independently assess what is happening. This is valid for Zaporizhia, this is valid for nuclear proliferation in Iran, or whatever the IAEA is. First, important key information. This is not like Zaporizhia, where you have the plant basically in what we call cold shutdown. So these are hot nuclear reactors, which means that in case something, God forbid, happened, there would be a very serious situation.
Russia reportedly uses the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant as a military base. According to President Zelensky, Russian forces are using the plant's territory to launch attacks on the nearby city of Nikopol and to store military equipment and munitions. On August 18th, the International Atomic Energy Agency issued a warning about the deterioration of the nuclear site's safety situation. The Zaporizhia nuclear power plant remains under occupation of Russian forces since 2022 and has not produced power for about 2 years, remaining in cold shutdown. The World Health Organization has recorded 1,940 attacks on the Ukrainian healthcare system since February 2022. According to WHO, this is the highest figure ever recorded in any humanitarian emergency in the world. Following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the WHO country office in Ukraine has been monitoring, verifying, and reporting attacks on healthcare institutions. A WHO representative stressed that they were witnessing a blatant disregard for the fundamental principles of humanitarian law. The G7 is to aid Ukraine with a €50 billion loan. The German Chancellor Olaf Scholz announced the new financial initiative in a post published on his X page. The Bundestag Chancellor also emphasized that Germany remains one of Ukraine's most significant European supporters. Previously, in June 2024, the G7 summit agreed to finance Ukraine with $50 billion from confiscated Russian funds. Meanwhile, the Czech Minister of Defense Jana Černochová announced via her official X page that the Czech Republic will use Russian funds frozen in the EU to supply Ukraine with hundreds of thousands of much-needed 155mm shells. The Dutch Ministry of Defense is going to purchase 51 mobile radar units and donate them to Ukraine later this year. These systems are designed to detect small drones and differentiate them from other objects such as birds. The 51 radars are expected to be delivered to Ukraine in phases, starting in the last quarter of 2024. These systems will play a crucial role in countering drone attacks from Russia. The prosecutor's office of Rostov Military Court requested prison sentences of up to 24 years for 23 Ukrainian prisoners of war. This was reported by a Russian media outlet Media Zona. The Ukrainian prisoners are currently being held in a detention center in Rostov-on-Don. The case involves 23 Ukrainians who served in the Azov Brigade at different times, either under contract or as civilian employees. 2 of the accused have been tried in absentia following their exchange for Russian prisoners of war. Kamala Harris pledges to support Ukraine, accepting the Democratic Party nominee in the US presidential run. On August 22nd, the Democratic National Convention came to an end in Chicago. Current Vice President of the USA, Kamala Harris, gave a speech in which she assured she will stand alongside Ukraine and NATO if she wins the upcoming November presidential elections.
5 days before Russia attacked Ukraine, I met with President Zelensky to warn him about Russia's plan to invade. I helped mobilize a global response over 50 countries to defend against Putin's aggression. And as president, I will stand strong with Ukraine and our NATO allies.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Kyiv, marking the first visit of an Indian Prime Minister to Ukraine in the history of bilateral relations. He already met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
As of today, we have agreed upon 4 documents with our visiting side, India, during this historical visit of Prime Minister Modi. The agreements include medical, agrarian, humanitarian, and cultural joint cooperation, as well as documents that are already drawn up regarding the cultivation of bilateral strategic trade and military partnerships between our countries. All of this needs to be strengthened.
In times of crisis, there are several requirements that the people of Ukraine needed, and to fulfill those requirements, we adopted a humanitarian point of view, and we tried our best to fulfill these demands and requirements. I can assure you that in the future, as well going ahead with this humanitarian point of view, we will always stand with you, and you will find us 2 steps ahead.
On August 22nd, while visiting Poland, Modi stated that India is ready to work with friendly nations to provide the possible support for ending the conflicts in Ukraine and West Asia.
The situation prevailing in Ukraine and West Asia is a matter of deep concern for all of us. India firmly believes that no conflict or problem can be resolved on the battlefield. The loss of innocent lives in any crisis is the biggest challenge for all of humanity, and that is why we support dialogue and diplomacy for the quick restoration of peace and stability.
The National Flag Day is celebrated in Ukraine on August 23rd. On the occasion, President Volodymyr Zelensky participated in the ceremonial raising of the Ukrainian flag. He emphasized that the blue and yellow flag unites many generations who have fought for Ukraine, liberated Ukrainian land from invaders, and dreamed of independence. He also thanked everyone who continues to fight and work for Ukraine.
We are pushing the occupier out of Ukraine, and will give no rest to their tricolors. And we must rebuild Ukraine, our home, after this war, so that our Ukrainian blue and yellow will fly, as it deserves, over proud land and amidst a safe, free, and European life.
The blue and yellow flag has a long history. After the beginning of the Russian invasion, it also became a symbol of struggle and resistance.
Слава Україні!
This is it for today. Thank you for being with us. This is United 24 Media, and see you next week.